Thank you very much. Uh, uh, Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for inviting me to be part of today's presentation. Uh, I am no expert. Let me just get myself into slideshow. Okay. I'm certainly no expert on technology, but I do use technology. So this is based on some of my own personal experience and also on the older adults that were in my study. Okay. So my qualifications to speak on this topic are my own lived experience, technology understandings of the older women in my research, technology barriers I have learned about, and finally a bit about the future realities in technology for older adults. So my own lived experience, I'm an older woman who have used a variety of technologies. I have used home automation like electrical appliances, microwaves, washers and dryers, reclining chairs, all things that are around your house and seem like ordinary things now. But often that type of thing is something that we have to learn to use. And there are still some things that give me problems. The entertainment appliances like televisions, VCRs, radios, uh, remote controls. Remote controls drive me mad because, for example, with a television, many times you need to have more than one remote control to make them work properly. Or if I hit the wrong button, I end up having to wait until my daughter gets home so she can hit the right button for me. And then the information technologies, like the computers, the printers, the digital cameras, cell phones, uh, they all bring their own special uh, challenges with them. Then we hear about the communication systems like the, the wireless signals and the internet. Uh, and then the online data sharing, which is like what we're working with today, the Zooms, the Skypes, and there are many platforms, and each one has their own special features. And then there's also the file sharing on cloud-based systems. And again, this is something that we have to learn. So I also have some technology or experience with technology glitches. And we certainly do get lots of technology glitches at times, like uh, your computer freezes, something malfunctions. And so, what do you do when this happens? Well, I said I had experience in using or with the glitches, but I don't have the expertise to always fix those glitches. So in my situation, I have a son who seems to know everything they needs to know about computers, and he's always willing to bail me out. And I also have a daughter who's very savvy about online data sharing programs and file sharing on cloud-based systems. And because for some reason, I always have difficulties in my filing system, uh, I often have to call on her as well. I know I'm very, very lucky because my children live close by, but sometimes I feel guilty that I'm calling on them to work to fix things for me. But I also know that if I didn't call on them, they would be upset. By asking them for help, I'm giving them the opportunity to support me as I age. I also learned that I don't have to know everything about technology. I just need to know who to call if I need support, and I need to know how to use the tool that I need to create my masterpieces. Then many of us have grandchildren and great grandchildren who never knew life without technology. If you ask them what they learn when they learn to use a computer, they will look at you rather blankly and have no idea what you're talking about because computers have always been part of their life. On the other hand, if you ask a younger person to use a dial telephone, which came on the market when I was going through my life, they would have no idea what you're talking about. They would not know how to use it. And so it's proof that life is a learning process and we all can share our knowledge to help everyone else. So the realities of the women in my study. So my research participants were 10 women age 85 to 91, and they all lived in rural communities. 6 of my participants were computer users, and the majority of the use of their computers was to connect with family, friends, to share family stories and photos, play games, share information. But for 4 of my participants, they used their computers more extensively. They prepared meeting materials, did research, sought more information on uh, topics of interest to them, and two of my participants also did online banking, searched and booked holidays, and they also did shopping online. But I think the biggest hurdle was their vision of what technology actually includes. Their belief that computers and other electronic, uh, electronic gadgets are beyond their capabilities and knowledge. So, what were the technologies they used? Well, they used radios, cell phones, appliances, TVs, um, this other way, see, alarm systems, assistive devices, and for most of them, they also used motor vehicles. But the phrase I heard most from the older women was, I'm too old to learn, which is such a false thing to believe in. But I think the idea that we have been using different technologies all of our lives seemed to be a surprise to them. And that's because they thought of a technology as just computers or smartphones or tablets. So I think when we talked about technologies and they begin to see what technologies really were, I think they began to think or realize that they have been using technology all their life. They just didn't know it. So I think they could begin to believe that anything is possible because they were learning all their lives. So instead of always hearing the stereotypical ageist rhetoric that older men and women would have difficulties using technology, especially older women, I think it's time we started to inform older adults, policymakers, and others that the realities are the system has failed older adults and has placed them in what's called the digital divide category. So some of the barriers to using technology is the lack of basic instructions, the lack of ongoing technical support, and useful teaching moments. Now, what I mean by that, uh, if we have difficulty with our technology and we call someone in, either we pay someone to come in or we benefit from our family members who can support us, uh, because they have grown up in an ageist society and does not even think that older women can learn, they are missing this teaching moment. They come, they quickly fix the problem, but they forget to help that person grow and build confidence by teaching them how to fix their computer or whatever problem they're having with technology. So the building confidence and providing new tools support self-empowerment, and that is definitely lacking. The lack of confidence in themselves. A good example is older adults have concerns and fears that they might break something or hit a wrong key and delete everything. Now, that's something that younger learners do not have to think about because they don't have the life experience to know such a thing is possible. So they're fearless when they work with technology, whereas older adults bring all the possibilities that could happen if they don't know what they're doing. Some of the other barriers. Technology is not designed for end users. Technology is designed to constantly be updated, and it has way too much uh, in it, built into it, that most of us never use at all. And they do until Agewell started seeing the value of older adults as part of the advisory team and insist that older adults be part of any product, service, or program that's developed to impact on their lives. They should be part of that. And that is why I say nothing about us without us. So to design a product, a technology that's going to be beneficial for older adults must be part of the advisory team. They also must understand how that technology works, why it would be something that would be beneficial to them. And then, as Nathan mentioned, there are the health-related barriers. So we also need to think about those as we are developing technologies. And again, the benefit of having an older adult as part of the advisory team. Then there are the financial barriers, uh, especially when it comes to women. Many women are left with a few financial supports as they grow older, especially if they become a widow and do no longer benefit from the second funding that may be coming into the household. So that has to be thought about. And then when you live in a rural community, there's that terrible internet connection, which in many cases is worse than the old dial-up system. Actually, I myself have dealt with that up until about 2 months ago. And 2 months ago, in our part of the rural community, we did get fiber op, and that has made all the difference in the world. And then another barrier to technology is ageism, where people have been led to believe that they don't have, when they get older, they don't have the knowledge or the skills to deal with technology. So the lack of knowing the benefits of technology and why it may be useful is also a barrier. So what is our future? Well, technology really is our new reality. As older adults, we're forced to embrace technology, but user-friendly tools are not provided. As older adults, we must acknowledge and build on our own capabilities and strengths and continue to learn, grow, and share our knowledge. As older adults, we are obliged to fight ageism and reclaim our right to age with dignity. As older adults, we must break down the silos and work together to create holistic communities where all ages are valued and respected. I also would like to say that technology is not our enemy. As older adults, we can be our own worst enemies because we do not recognize our own strengths. We need to recognize that ageism has impacted societies and shaped the way we think, feel, and act toward age and aging. The myths and stereotypes we have been taught about growing older do not match the realities we experience when we become older ourselves. As adults, we must reject ageism and get rid of the silos that separate us. And we need to create solidarity by working with all generations to create communities that support and value all citizens, regardless of abilities, age, or any other ageism we constantly deal with. So, thank you.